started learning German, there were a lot of interesting little peculiar things about the language that jumped out at me. I was fascinated by how English and German, or German and Spanish, my first foreign language, related to each other, and really interested by the little quirks that I noticed in the languages. I'm Donna, and you're watching Wanted Adventure Living Abroad. One of the first interesting things that I noticed about German and English was the wer is who and wo is where phenomenon. Now in German, the word for where, as in where are you, is wo, W-O. And the German word for who is wer. So I saw this kind of funny connection between the words, sort of an inverse relationship between the two words, and I thought that was really cool. Along those same lines, it's very confusing to try to spell something in German that contains an E or an I, because in German the letter I is actually pronounced E, and the letter E is pronounced more like the English letter A. So kind of hard to wrap your brain around. Also, of course, I noticed a lot of what are called false friends between German and English. And those are words that sound alike and look alike, but actually mean different things. For example, eventually and the German word eventuell. This one gave Mr. German Man and I some confusion at the beginning when he asked me one day whether or not I wanted to have dinner that evening. I answered, yeah, eventually. Well, in German, eventuell doesn't mean some undefined point in the future. It means maybe. So as far as he understood, I had answered, yeah, maybe. So he responded accordingly with, well, I mean, do you or don't you? Because we need to buy food if we're having dinner tonight. And of course, confused by his confusion, I replied back with, yes, I do want to have dinner. Eventually. We finally figured it out though. Eventually. The names of large numbers are also false friends that really could confuse on a massive scale. So in English we count million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, and so on. And million is 10 to the 6th power, billion is 10 to the 9th power, trillion 10 to the 12th power, and on and on. But in German they count Million, Milliarde, Billion, Billiarde, Trillion, Trilliarde. As I'm sure you can imagine, that can get pretty confusing. I mean, billion and billion sound an awful lot alike, and they're spelled the same, but actually, billion in German means trillion in English, and trillion in German means quintillion in English. So, I think you can already envision the possible huge confusing circumstances that can arise from that. I could talk about false friends for hours though. It was one of my favorite topics when I was an English teacher, so I'll just move on now and probably make a video just on false friends in the future. Another thing that really intrigued me about German was the grammar associated with the word bleiben. Bleiben means to stay, and in my mind, staying does not require any action or movement, and that's very clear as far as I'm concerned, but the Germans, it seems, are a little confused about this. So in German, to speak about the past, a sentence is structured one way if a verb is considered a motion verb. Examples of motion verbs are to drive, to walk, to run. These are considered motion verbs in German. Very interesting to me was that bleiben, to stay, is included in this list. To stay is somehow considered a motion verb in German, while I think that staying somewhere is anti-motion. It's the complete opposite of moving. But fine, whatever, crazy Germans. I conceded to the fact that in the German language, to stay was a motion verb. Okay. Fast forward to another German lesson, conjugating the articles before a noun. I was told that it comes back to motion again. If a verb has motion, for example, to go or to drive, then the article is conjugated using the accusative. And if there's no motion, such as to sit or to stand, then you use the dative. So when we came to the verb to stay, I cleverly said, aha, stay, that's motion, right? So I used the accusative just like for to drive or to go. Wrong, said the teacher. To stay, they said, does not require motion in this case. Huh? Okay, please just make up your mind. And lastly for today, another thing I found really interesting when I first started learning German was both of my foreign languages, German and Spanish, categorize their nouns by gender. And I was very intrigued when one noun had different genders in Spanish and German. So table, for example. In Spanish, it is feminine, la mesa. But in German, it is masculine, der Tisch. So I started to wonder whether or not this perhaps said something about the culture of the place. I don't know, just something else for you to think about. So my question for you is, what fascinates you about languages? Are there any false friends that have given you trouble, or are there some peculiar grammar rules that you've noticed in any language? Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. And also, be sure to check me out on Twitter and my Facebook page for more photos and updates. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen! Be sure to check me out on Twitter and my Facebook page for more behind the scenes and updates. Until next time. V's. Not get my V's and W's confused, okay?